Okay, One Piece chapter 1008. Not a controversial chapter, I guess, but many people had varying opinions, which is fair, and they have that right. So we'll start this one off with the cover art request though, which is one of my recent favorites, of course, next to the Katakuri cover. Robin helping a horse fly like a Pegasus. I thought this was really cool, and it's a cover request that I could actually see happening because Robin has this weird love for obscure things like, say, Ryunosuke, right? So I enjoyed that request, but we gotta get to the chapter. But if you're here for the first time, make sure to subscribe to the channel, drop a like as well. I would certainly appreciate that. Maybe you've watched a few videos before and you haven't even realized that you're not subscribed, so click that button and let's go. Okay, so One Piece chapter 1008. I prefaced this by stating there were a slew of opinions regarding this chapter, which is expected based off of how the previous chapter ended. Pretty much had one of the craziest cliffhangers ever, and this is One Piece, so that's crazy, right? It was either we believed that Oden had returned or follow the theory crafting side of things, which most people did. Some people were even already calling it bad no matter what happened. So this led to many back and forths. But there's been a week break, right? So people have had the time to sit on this. There's been a lot of videos about the topic, about who Oden could be, Toki's power, etc. So when the chapter opens up describing these things, some people were actually caught where they believed that Oden was actually back and that it was Toki's power. So the ruse continued for the beginning of the chapter, trying to throw the Scabbards off a bit more. And some people were mad that the Scabbards were being so emotional and not thinking because there's no way Toki's power works that way. But you have to understand everything they had been through. They were on the brink of death before, just right before. And of course, you know how they feel about Oden. Somebody's reaction that I was really interested in seeing is Izo, because Izo in particular was not there at the hour of legend, right? Izo hadn't seen Oden ever since he left Whitebeard's ship. So Izo's reaction was interesting because Izo even had tears in his eyes, and you can understand why. Ashura Doji, he was the one that pointed out that, it was obviously an imposter. Am I upset with the selection? No, because I think Ashura Doji's path has kind of been carved out to be one of the more logical ones and not void of emotion, but normally he can keep those in check. And in this situation, he didn't even do that, but he managed to do it long enough to acknowledge that, as much as it would be cool, as much as I would love for Oden to be back, it's not him. I saw some people saying Kinemon and Dendro should have been the ones to know this, but I think they're the two that should be affected by this the most. They are Oden's first two Scabbards, right? So their connection to Oden may be slightly deeper than the others. And of course, what I liked about this as well with Kinemon and Dendro, which I haven't pointed out before, is that Kinemon took care of Momonosuke and Dendro took care of Hiyori, right? Where the first two Scabbards took care of Oden's children. So I really liked how Ashura was able to, see through that, and then even sacrificed himself to kind of figure out the truth. And he revealed to everyone that he himself wishes that it was real. So the imposter turned out to be Kanjuro. We had so many different opinions trying to list who it could be. Last week after my video, I stated that the number one option more than likely was Kanjuro, because initially I'd said Onimaru, but I'd forgotten that Kanjuro can make sentient clones like he did on the ship before he kidnapped Momonosuke. So I was like, okay, more than likely it's Kanjuro. Anybody else, we'd have to create some headcanon around what's actually going on. The only thing for Kanjuro is kind of saying he was alive, and that's not something that's new in One Piece. If you go back to the Kiku chapter where she impaled Kanjuro, we didn't actually see it. And it's explained here that, if it's your friend, well, Ashura is explaining to Kiku, your sword doesn't work the same if you're pointing it at a friend, etc., which makes sense, but I think it highlights the issue that some people have with the Scabbards, that time and time again, it reeks of incompetence on their part, and that they never really finished the job. So in a way, it's kind of prolonging the story unnecessarily. You can go back to Sasaki, right, where he was just restrained. Kanjuro, obviously. The Dukes with Jack. So it's so many things, right, where you understand why they cannot kill someone like Kanjuro. But Sasaki, he should be permanently removed. But you understand that this is a story. And if Sasaki's taken out that easily, what was even the point of his introduction? But when things like that happen, just looking past the story elements, you can't help but view these characters, as real people, real characters. And the thing that's highlighted again is incompetence. Again, Oda tried to explain it away in regards to a sword being dull, but you have to understand what Kanjuro had done and how much he was a risk to Momonosuke. And you saw in this chapter, that risk is still there, and the Scabbards, they let that fester. to me, it's not such a big deal because of my expectations for the scabbards. However, one could understand how it could become tiresome. My issue with this moment isn't necessarily with the scabbards and their incompetence. That is whatever, it's a story. I'm going along with it. I think my thing is the fake out to Ashra's death. Now, I will preface it by saying if Ashra is actually dead here, I would like that. It would be really shocking. And the reason why Ashra's death or even his sacrifice does not hit that emotional toll as I think it was intended to is because in this same chapter, two characters that we previously thought was assumed to be dead, they came back. Now, Oda could be throwing us off by introducing these two characters back into the story and having the Ashra fake out to basically just kill Ashra, and everyone will overlook it because of what happened in this chapter. That could be, five-head thinking by Oda. So I'm not ruling that out. But initially when Ashra made his sacrifice, I honestly felt nothing. We have to see how that plays out. But so far, I feel nothing, even though Ashra at one point was my favorite scabbard. Kanjuro, even though he's going after Momonosuke, again, this goes back to them and the scabbards not being able to kill Kanjuro. He will never reach Momonosuke. Momonosuke is right now surrounded by Shinobu and Yamato. Kanjuro can create clones of anyone. So he could create another clone of Oden. That would more than likely throw off Yamato because how much she loves Oden, but he would never reach Momonosuke, right? He's never going to get to that point where he can stab Momonosuke. Or maybe the clone throws them off and then Sanji has to come in and save Momo. I'm not upset at Kanjuro though, because Kanjuro again is playing his role and playing it really well. And at this point, there seems to be no redemption for that character, which, for every character doesn't need redemption. Some characters are just evil, but for Kanjuro, he's playing his role. As a Kurozumi, he serves Orochi, and he's going to be a Kurozumi to the end. I think his ultimate demise, like when he knows it's over, he may do some reflection and say, I did treat you guys as real friends, but at the end of the day, I am a true performer. The Dukes and Jack, again, this is a bit repetitive. We've seen this story before, specifically in Irashi versus Jack. When I saw it, I thought that, hey, since all of you guys are right here, the best thing to do is for all of you to fight Jack at the same time. Then you would rid yourself of Jack, or even three of you can fight Jack at the same time, rid yourself of Jack, and then the others can go after Momonosuke. Because now you leave Jack in a 1v1 versus Inuyasha, and of course they're around the same tier, but it could go either way. And so you now put another scabbard at risk and you leave Ashura Doji behind, and Jack just let him run by him. It's just a thing where I feel like things could have been resolved right there, but again, things are being extended. I can't lie, Inuyasha's dialogue about the poisonous gas, amazing, right? I loved it because of what Jack said, where they're both taking shots at each other. However, this matchup doesn't feel like it's coming full circle without Nekomamushi, which, he still could come back. Orochi's back, and he's put fire to the castle. Now, my issue with this thing is why? What are you doing? You're putting fire to the castle for what reason? Of course, that may be revealed to us in the future, but I just don't see the purpose. Is it to kill Kaido? To hurt Kaido? Because I don't see what this is going to do to Kaido. There's no way Orochi thinks this could actually harm Kaido in any physical way, but I'm sure there's more to be revealed with this scenario. And we see Fukurokuja as well. He's back, and that gave me the hint that Orochi was not dead. I never thought Orochi was dead, but after Fukurokuja disappeared, I figured that Orochi would return at some point. And Oda more than likely will explain how he did it, because Orochi, he seems to just spew nothingness, and he's the villain that tells you everything that happened. So he will more than likely tell us what happened and how he didn't die. The most interesting part of this chapter is Momonosuke, in my opinion, and what he did by giving them an update in regards to Luffy's condition. So I said this could be one of two things, which one may be more likely than the other based on the information we have currently. For the other, we do have information as well, but I'm more confident in the first one. So the first one is the fact that Momonosuke has the voice of all things, and therefore he can sense Luffy's condition, right? So right now, based on where he is sensing Luffy, similar to how Rayleigh could sense, the animals on Riskaina and how many of them Luffy could defeat. So it's basically advanced level observation, which, I think that's what the voice of all things is anyway. The other option is that Momonosuke and his connection to Kaido, because his devil fruit is created using his Kaido's DNA. So Momonosuke right now in his connection to Kaido, he's seeing Luffy through Kaido's eyes, or he has a better feel of Luffy because Kaido is really close to Luffy. I'm not sure if you guys remember back in Punk Hazard, the thing that set Momonosuke off was like Doflamingo's voice in his head. So I'm not really sure if Oda's going to give us more of that connection, but for right now, I think that's really interesting, and I'm intrigued in everything that's going on with him. Now, Yamato, she says she wants to help take down Kaido as Oden, which if Yamato helps Luffy take down Kaido, that pretty much solidifies her, I think, joining the Straw Hats. The chapter ends with us going back to the rooftop, and it seems some time has passed because Luffy seems to be back. Of course, he got sent flying right back by Kaido, and the conversation around this moment is basically about Kaido's hybrid form. Now, I must say, like everyone, I was initially disappointed. Not everyone. Like most people, I was initially disappointed. Then I saw one of the best colorings I've ever seen of a chapter or of a panel. And that coloring makes that hybrid form look tremendous. So with the hybrid form, I'll say this. Let's wait and see exactly how it looks from a different vantage point, because here it's surrounded by fire. I don't think we're actually capturing the true aesthetic of this form. What threw us off was just how casually it was revealed. It didn't seem like such a hype thing, and kind of looks very similar to his human form because we cannot see his legs. This form, based on the coloring, is spectacular, right? I saw the coloring and I was like, whoa, did he edit something? No, he just colored it in and it looks pretty good. So I'm gonna reserve judgment. I think the coloring makes him look epic. Quickly, because I'm getting caught up in the Kaido hybrid form hype. Hybrid. The dialogue in regards to facing Big Mom and Kaido, it's implying that Big Mom and Kaido have spectacular teamwork. Like right now, based on how they're fighting, that they cannot break through. But that's not the case because they're landing several hits. Yes, they want to split them up, but does that solve the issue? Because right now you just can't hurt them. So I don't know. We have to see if this is just the surface level plan. But right now, I don't know if I like this plan because it doesn't really solve anything, right? Like, go back and just look at the fight. You guys are getting hits in. I guess they're saying the hits that they can land because they're together, they cannot land them, like with Zoro and Enma. So we need a bit more there, but we'll see. But guys, give me your thoughts. How do you feel about it? I thought it was a pretty good chapter. Just some things that I think I had minor issues with because it didn't really hit the way I'm assuming the author intended, but Oda could be throwing us off. And I could come back to this chapter after finding out things in the future and saying, you know what, this was great setup. But yeah, guys, give me your thoughts. Make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram at BragoD.Ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Guys, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
I start doubting me, I felt lost.